Well, hello. Welcome to Raised Nonfiction. I'm here today doing something a little different, but it's going to be awesome fun. There's a dude by the name of Huck. His channel is Huck's Pop Culture Cafe. Links in the description. Please check him out. He's awesome. He started a challenge the other day that I caught wind of through Mid-Level Media, Ken's channel, and it just seemed like an awesome idea. I'm going to rip through it right now. I'm going to go through the titles fast, and what we're doing is we're just going to go alphabetically from A to Z and pick a movie that fits in each letter. And it's just going to be one that's in the collection, and it's a favorite, either a classic or a personal favorite, whatever, right? The rules are pick a numeric title, and then a letter from A to Z, and there could be 5 cheats where you use like a box set if you don't have a title standalone, okay? Or if you want to throw a bunch of titles under one letter from a big franchise. Anyway, let's go. We're going to start. I'm just going to go through these, try and go as fast as possible and talk about them as little as possible. I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 I talk about more than the others, all right? So right off the get, we're going to start with the numeric, and that's 48 Hours. This is an awesome Eddie Murphy movie. I used to watch this a lot growing up, which is nuts because I watched it recently, and it's dark and not appropriate for children. It's very funny, but it's super racist. It's violent. It's mature, okay? This is not for kids. This is not like Beverly Hills Cop. It's great, though. This is a good one. If you haven't seen it, check it out, but it's definitely a movie. This isn't getting made now, and if you have modern sensibilities, tread lightly, okay? So 48 Hours. For the A's, I went with one of the only cheats I really have for the whole list, okay? But I went with the Alien Collection. Now, this particular edition has Alien through Alien Resurrection. Obviously, Alien and Aliens are classics. They're perfect films for the most part. A lot of people will lean towards one or the other as their favorite. I think my personal favorite, Alien is the better film, but Aliens is, as a kid, that would have been my answer. That was just a blast, okay? Alien 3 holds up. It's got a lot of solid moments. Alien Resurrection, product of its time that you can have a few laughs. I like, oh my God, I can't remember his name. The actor who plays the villain from The Crow, he's good. He dies far too early in that one. Anyway, A for Alien, awesome franchise, okay? Totally deserves the cheat. B is a hard one. There were so many good movies. 100% runner-up here, Big Trouble in Little China. And it should be my favorite movie. So the fact that it's not getting this position is blowing my mind right now. But the fact is, Bloodsport is as significant a classic for me. And to this day, I've done this recently, I can watch this 3 times in a row. 3 times. At least twice. Twice is a blast. 3 times I did it just to say I did. But I watch this movie back to back a lot of the times. It finishes up, play it through the credits with a score, and then this particular Blu-ray is awesome. It just starts right at the beginning without you doing anything. And it starts with the score again, and it just takes you on the journey. And the score just is throughout this whole film, and it just carries you like wind on a sail, okay? If you haven't seen Bloodsport, check it out. It's amazing. It's super cheesy, but it's great, great, great fun. And it's going to totally align with my next pick, which is a similar film, okay? I went with Commando. This is probably one of my favorite beer movies. You just watch this with friends or family or whatever, have a beer or two, and you're just going to all have a blast. Just the movie starts right away, goes pedal to the metal right to the end. Critter's probably the number 1 contender to this for the C category, but yeah, Commando gets it by far. I've seen this movie a million times. D, Die Hard, objectively better. but I'm going with Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third one. This was the one that I remember as a kid seeing the commercials for on TV, and it got me thinking, like, what is this Die Hard thing? No, 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 no. Amazing. I saw this one first. I didn't have the context of Gruber falling, that imagery. Then when I watched the first one and second one, I remember we rented them both same night from Blockbuster and watched them both back to back. Awesome double feature night, Die Hard 1 and 2. But Die Hard 3 has always had a soft spot for me. It's by far my favorite of the sequels. E, we're going with Evil Dead 2. Out of Evil Dead and Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2, this one's my favorite of those three. I feel like it's like right down the pipe for tone, advantage of both sort of like tone structures from the other sequels or the other movies in the franchise. I got the regular edition here with a slip. Nothing fancy. Didn't get that huge groovy box set. I'm sure they'll release another one down the line. But yeah, Evil Dead 2 for E. F, I'm going with a little oddball. There's plenty of great F films. There was a few other contenders. The Faculty right away like jumps out. Frighteners is also a really good one. But I'm going with like a Canadian one here that not everyone may have heard of. Fubar. And this is a rockumentary or a mockumentary. It's kind of both. It's about these two like kind of punker metalhead loser guys. And, there's two films here, actually. I've got Fubar and Fubar 2. This was actually a double pack, but I had the other edition, so I just kind of used both cover arts here. But so I guess I'm talking about both films, all right? Fubar 1's a little bit more grungy and underground. Fubar 2's got more production, but it's an awesome sequel. It carries the story and kind of finishes up a few of the loose threads from the first one. If you've never heard of these and you're into like Spinal Tap or anything like that, definitely check this out. If you're a punk or metalhead or into underground lifestyles, this is really right up your alley. G, we're going with Gremlins 2. This movie's awesome. The original Gremlins is obviously great too. There's plenty of other G like awesome movies, but Gremlins 2 is a perfect sequel. And I think the reason that we haven't gotten another Gremlins movie yet is because this exists. This is a perfect executed sequel. It makes fun of the first one. All the weird stuff that doesn't really make sense, they just straight up make fun of it. They go times 10 on Gremlins, times 10 on everything that was like silly and goofy about the first one. So they just go all out. There's some things that happen with like the future tech and the Trump character. It's incredible. This completely holds up. It's only gotten better. I liked it back in the day, and I think if I had to pick one Gremlins movie, it would probably be Gremlins 2. There's more going on in this compared to the first one, in my opinion. H, we're going with Highlander. My side pick would have been Haywire, which is a modern movie. Great action flick. If you haven't seen that, check out Haywire 2. But Highlander is like my personal favorite. I love this movie. Soundtrack is sick. I love sword stuff. This is a movie that would be on late at night, and I would just catch it, and I didn't know what it was. The soundtrack was sick. I loved Queen as a teenager, so this was right up my alley. Highlander's sick. They're probably going to remake it. There's no way it'll have the charm as this. Just the soundtrack alone elevates this to another level. Clancy Brown and Sean Connery. Even Christopher Lambert, like there's some really great scenes with him in this. Yeah, check out Highlander. I love the TV series too. I love the sequels. I really hate Highlander 2, especially the theatrical version. I have yet to this day been able to see through the whole film. Highlander 3 is fun. Highlander Endgame is kind of fun. That other one they made, Highlander The Source, never watched that. That just looked awful, and I saw what they did with the ending. I'm never going to watch that movie. If they ever release a Highlander box set, feel free to include everything except for that, okay? For the I, I'm going with a Nolan movie. The other I movies I have in my collection are kind of like risque. You probably can see or think of, you can probably see them right here, all right? But I'm going with Interstellar. Christopher Nolan film. For me, like of the Nolan movies, like he's a little too over the top for me. My wife feels the same way. Like they're long, they're bloated. They're a little bit pompous. This is one where it works, in my opinion, though. Like, the story actually requires that. The visualizations require that. I like the story. I like the ending. I really like this one. This one was a fun one. It's held up better for me than stuff like Inception. J slot, we're going with Jackie Brown. Had to get a Quentin Tarantino movie on the list. Sneak preview, this is the only one that will be on the list. It probably is one of my more favorite of his like films, even though I don't think he wrote it originally. I think it's based off a novel. But it totally feels like one of his movies. Score is probably one of the best scores in all of his movies, and that's saying a lot because they're all pretty good. The story's held up well for me. I have always liked this one. I can't wait for this 4K to come out, to be honest. Out of all of them, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and Kill Bill. Kill Bill is probably the one that will be the best, to be honest. But I think of his classic movies, this might be the pristine 4K of the bunch. But there's not a whole lot going on visually with this one compared to a lot of his other films. Anyway, story's sick. Watch Jackie Brown if you've never seen it. My K selection is going to be Krampus. This is a film that a lot of people seem to like, but not necessarily love. The biggest complaint being that there's not a lot of gore. I guess I agree, but I think it works. Honestly, I really like this one. I feel like the tone is so well executed. All the practical effects are amazing. The CGI, even though it's not the best, is used in areas where it's appropriate. That's, the little gingerbread men running around and stuff. Most of what happens at the end is practical, so all that stuff's great. So even though I don't love the CGI, I love the way they used it. It was where it needed to be. The movie on the whole is good. I don't know that this cut was better than the other one. I think I almost prefer the theatrical cut, to be honest. There's nothing that the new scenes added, and it just sort of lengthens the movie slightly for no real reason. But the 4K did look good, and the art and the slipcover are sick. So if you're going to pick one up, I'd probably still pick up the 4K. My L movie is one of my favorites, personal favorite here. I've talked about it on a few other videos already. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero. This is like a meta parody film almost. It came out at the peak of his career, and I can't understand to this day why this isn't touted as one of his greatest films. It's directed by McTiernan, John McTiernan, director of Die Hard and Predator. I don't understand why this isn't appreciated more. The story's good, the action's good. It's kind of like it's violent, but there's no gore going on. It's like an old 90s movie. Anyway, it's just funny. The story's great. It's meta. It's awesome. This is a film that you probably could remake today, and you'd be able to do it with like a modern action hero, and it would work. But Arnold definitely specifically adds a lot of flavor to this. I've got like a Zavvi limited edition copy, which annoys me because this one I think was originally limited to 2,000 copies, and they reprinted it after the fact again. Whatever. It's still kind of cool. The gold paint is probably the worst paint that you could have on a thing like this. It takes more damage than, pretty much any of the other Arrow or Zavvi things I have. I love the fact that they included, so this is it's not a book, this is like a little case that holds the nonsense cards and crap, but they put no sequel for you on it, which is straight up, I think Arnold's like best one-liner out of almost all of his movies, other than like, I'll be back. Steelbook, cover art of the poster, looks incredible. Just do this more, guys. Don't mess around trying to come up with some nonsense art. Just get the poster art. We'll literally probably pay more if we had to get it, okay? M, we've got Midnight Run. Robert De Niro, Charles Grodin. Great comedy. Similar to 48 Hours, even though it's not as dark. Although it kind of is. Like, it fits into the same ballpark of a movie that they just don't make anymore. Like, Robert De Niro is smoking the whole time. Everyone's smoking. He's a terrible father. He's not like someone to really look up for, but you feel bad for him and you want him to succeed. It's got layers. Again, they don't really make them like this quite anymore. Definitely check that out. I hope that they re-release a 4K of that. I'm sure they will. It's inevitable. Someone will. The movie's too good. End movie is Night of the Comet. This is your like I Am Legend sort of Omega Man, Last Man of the World. I forget what the original one was called. That sort of thing. Something happens, either kills everyone or turns them into monsters, right? Except you got a female lead, 2 female leads actually, sisters. This is fun. It's got a bunch of twist endings too. You think it's over and it just keeps escalating and twisting itself. This was awesome. I just rewatched this a few weeks ago. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time and I'd seen the movie before. So I really recommend checking this one out. This is an old Scream Factory release. Just like Midnight Run, I'm pretty sure this is coming up due for a re-release at some point in the near future. So I don't know what that one's costing. It might be old enough where it's out of print, but don't buy it. It's going to get re-released. It's too good. O film is Old Boy. Now, the thing is, I've never even really seen this all the way through. I've seen parts of it, and I know what happens in the end. It's just this was literally the... Oh, no, I'm thinking of other options now. Oh, my God. But it's okay. I have another O film. It'll come up later in one of my cheats for a later letter. But Old Boy is going to be my O selection. I certainly have never seen the remake of this either, but I'm going to check this one out at some point. I know it's a classic, a modern classic. Again, I kind of know the twists, but it's creepy and weird, so I'm going to check it out. I can't believe I had that other O film, and I spaced on it right until I'm recording this, and I remembered. I'll mention it later when we get there. The P film is Pineapple Express. This is like a weed action comedy, and it's pretty great. On the surface, it is what you think it is, but there's a lot of deep things happening here. So here's my favorite layer of this film that I don't really hear anyone ever talk about. Seth Rogen, and by proxy, James Franco, their characters, they only survive the events of this movie because Seth Rogen's character is smoking weed the whole time and so paranoid that his paranoia is fueling his decision-making, and his decision-making basically gets them out of situations that they would have been killed in. And it happens throughout the movie. So it's just a little layer. Like, James Franco always just wants to stop and wait, and Seth Rogen's the one paranoid moving things along. Amber Heard's in this is kind of a bummer, but it's probably her best role, to be honest. And like Seth Rogen realizes she's a piece of garbage. Q movie, Quick and the Dead. Sam Raimi classic. I guess we got 2 of his movies on here. That's amazing. But yeah, Quick and the Dead's a favorite of mine. Cast is awesome. It moves. It just moves. Great performances. It's kind of schlocky. You could totally see Sam Raimi's direction in here. This is a good one. For the R's, I went with Return of the Living Dead. 4K is coming soon. Very soon. I can't wait to get that one. Got this one after the fact, so I never got the slip with it. This is one where I'm gladly rebuying this. This movie is amazing. It's not like, some random B movie like I can feel cool about owning, Return of the Living Dead is a classic. Again, used to play super late at night. Very late, for obvious reasons in this case. It's just solid. The ending's great. The cast is great. The tone, that punker sort of horror vibe. The music. Lovely, lovely film. If you haven't seen it, certainly don't buy this thing. Wait a few more weeks. The 4K is coming, everybody. You probably already know that. S. Story of Ricky. Not one that everyone knows or talks about. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this. This is probably one of my favorite schlocky kind of kung fu type things. But there's a lot going on in this one. It's like a dystopian prison future film. It's got kung fu masters. It's got mysticism. It's got prison gang violence. It's got bad dubbing. It's got everything. It's got anime monsters. I don't even know where to start. I just know that if you collect movies and you haven't heard or seen of this one yet, you could probably spoil a lot of things. I'm sure there's clips on YouTube, but try not to look at anything. Just find a copy of Story of Ricky. This 88 Films version is the best one that there is. I don't know that this is in print or available anymore. I know they released it at a time when the company was transitioning to a different warehouse or production place. And then, anyway, the release kind of got mixed, lost in the shuffle, and then they reprinted it because the demand was so large. So I don't know where we stand with this now. I actually have a second copy of this stored away for future me. Anyway, please check that movie out. It's amazing fun. T is one where it could have went a million different directions, okay? There's so many good movies here. But I went with the one that started it all for me and the best of the franchise, no matter what you say. James Cameron's The Terminator. This movie is awesome. Arnold's in a horror movie. He's a bad guy. And that's exactly what this feels like. The premise is solid. You know, the beginning of the film to the end, like everything about this is perfect. If they never made another sequel, this is perfect. T2 is okay, but it's lame compared to this. This movie is much, much better. And I am so afraid of when they do a 4K, because if James Cameron scrubs it and does all kinds of weird stuff and gets rid of like the stop motion and puts CGI, who knows what he'd do, right? No. Keep this the way it is. Just clean it up. Make it a little nicer, okay? Don't get crazy. We don't need to have it look like a porcelain doll. My U film, Under Siege. I love this movie. It's the best Die Hard clone. It's probably Steven Seagal's favorite movie for me because Steven Seagal's toned down. I feel like the director is like keeping him under control a little bit. He's not as over the top, and he isn't getting away with as much weird stuff as he does in some of his other well-known movies. It's like a less is more approach here, and it works really well. What's her name? The female lead is great too. Oh, no. I can't believe I'm spacing on her name. It doesn't matter. She's really cute, and she's good with him. They have good chemistry. Tommy Lee Jones is good as the bad guy, too. Gary Busey's in here. Check out Under Siege. I like the sequel, too. Dark Territory. I actually have them in a box set, so I could have included that one, too. But Under Siege, check that one out if you haven't seen it. Again, though, totally a Die Hard clone. V, we're going with Vertigo, and I have that in the Alfred Hitchcock collection, the 4K set. We've got Psycho, The Birds, and Rear Window in here too. There's literally 4 of his best films. Every movie in here is really good. Psycho is amazing. Vertigo, though, it's probably a little too long for me. I straight up don't have too many V options in here, so I kind of had to default to this one. But when I watched Vertigo for the first time, I was blown away at that dream sequence. It's probably the most famous shot or sequence in the movie. Yeah, I don't even understand how they filmed or got away with that back then. It looks incredible. W, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I've got the 4K here. I've had this on DVD and Blu-ray as well. This movie's amazing. The movie holds up. It's rewatchable like hell. The animation and blending with the humans, incredible. You know, CG doesn't look as good. This looks more believable than everything, just because of how much care went into how they had to film this. Everything was thought out. And for that reason, it stands the test of time. Now, this is where things get weird. I don't own an X-Men movie. I don't have... let's see. What are the ones I'm thinking of here? Yeah, I don't have the X-Men movies. If I had an X film, the closest, the pick that I should have is Triple X. I don't own that movie. So I don't have anything for X. I would have picked Triple X. For Y, I'm going with my cheat. You Only Live Twice. It's one of the Sean Connery films. It's the one where he gets cosmetic surgery and gets turned into a Japanese man. Straight up, though, I do like the old Bond movies. Here's my piece on Bond. I like pretty much the films that are in this set, which goes up to Skyfall. Skyfall, I'm not even a big fan of. I prefer Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace over Skyfall. Skyfall to me gets really weird, and all the movies after that have been horrible. I couldn't even finish the last one. I think it took 3 settings to get most of the way through it. And Spectre was probably the biggest disappointment I've ever seen in theaters. So that's my piece on that. I probably would buy a 4K box set of all of these, including those newer bad films when they re-release that. They're going through on Zavvi with all these steel books of these old movies now. So, guys, if you're buying that, I hope you really like the steel books, because guess what? These are all going to be replaced very soon with 4K discs. It's inevitable. And guess what? Zed, we got no Zed either. That's it. I don't own Zardoz. I don't own Xanadu. Is that even what it's called? My God. Zoolander. I think Xanadu is that Jumanji sequel. So yeah, never owned that. But yeah, I'm remembering that the other movie in here that I could have used as my O is we have Octopussy and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Truthfully, though, those are some of my least favorite James Bond movies, so I'm going to go ahead and just put Old Boy ahead of those anyway. I feel like it's a more appreciated film. Anyway, that's my list. I don't know if that's a fail or a pass. I didn't have every movie. I don't have a huge collection, and there was a few of them were a little dicey too. I only had a couple options. It's okay though. Again, I'd rather not own Zoolander. That's not a movie that I connect with or enjoy watching. So anyway, I'm done. You guys have a good one. Hopefully you stayed around the whole time. Actually, guess what? If you did, what am I going to give you? Oh, here you go. Anyone who was cool, who stood around the whole time, you get this. Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. Now, this will be the Evil Dead, like the Bruce Campbell original Sam Raimi Evil Dead, not the remake or anything. And Evil Dead 2 is going to be Evil Dead 2. I'm going to put the code closer to the camera just to make sure all that's visible. Yeah. Sorry about the glare, everybody. It is what it is. That's it. I'm tearing them up now. No more Evil Dead. Oh man, that took a while. You guys have a good one. Thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time. And thank you to Huck. Again, good idea, man. I'm sure my version of this is probably lamer than a lot of others, but it's still fun. There's some good movies in here to discuss. Again, if there's anything you guys saw that you want to discuss more, leave a comment. Whatever. Peace and love. Let's get nuts.